the thing is you never maintain in your life. You're always either getting better or getting worse. It's always one or the other. And because as far as we're aware, there is no limit to your happiness and to your mental health. And I'm telling you, there is no such thing as maintaining. You either get better or you get worse. So that's when you put that thought into your mind, okay, I'm either getting better or I'm getting worse. I'm either going to improve or I'm going to deteriorate. Then you need to look at your day and go, well, today am I deteriorating? Yes, I'm getting worse.
2, 1, and we're back in your ear for episode 6 with our very first guest. And I'm not going to say he's a man. I'm not going to say he's a myth because that would imply he's not real. But I am going to say he's a fellow seeker for success. He's a friend. He's a cousin. He's a soon-to-be author. He's a fraternity leader. Mr. Vinny York. How you doing?
What's up, man?
It feels like quite a while, but it's not really, hasn't really been that long. It's only 6 episodes, so you kind of got here in the early stages.
That's great. I'm glad to be the first guest. It's pretty fun. Also, too, you get by episode 6, you worked out the kinks, so get to get rolling with it pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to hear about some of the stuff that you're getting into. I know you've been doing some writing, so I want to hear about it.
Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of writing, man. Well, not for a long time though. I've been
a lot of writing recently, though.
A lot of writing recently, yeah. Like I spent, I don't know, when I was in high school, I wanted to write. When I was young, I used to write a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just, I wasn't writing productively with discipline.
Right.
I went to college at MTSU and got myself a writing degree.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just didn't write that much. I only procrastinated on assignments and everything. Didn't write that much, but just, starting, today, I think I put day 13 on my log today.
Oh, wow.
So 13 days now of waking up every single morning at 4:30 a.m. and writing for however long it takes.
Well, I tell you what, we were talking yesterday, and you had mentioned a guy that you view on Instagram that kind of motivated you for some of your Instagram posts and how you wake up and kind of...
Jocko Willink.
Yeah, some of the things that you get into. And do you find it hard in the morning when you wake up, or have you gotten to the point now where it's almost like muscle memory? The alarm goes off and you pop up, or does the bed fight back?
Oh man, I gotta be honest with you, because I decided I wanted to get on a good sleep schedule before I decided to get on a good sleep schedule and write. So I tried to wake up like 6 a.m. for like 2 weeks, and it just didn't work, and it was hard to get to sleep. And then I was watching a podcast. Funny enough, I was watching a podcast, Joe Rogan. He had some writer on there. Dude was talking about how he writes at 3:30 a.m. He wakes up at 3:30 a.m. He says within 4 minutes he's at the computer writing. And I was like, man, that sounds amazing. I was like, I would love to do that, and I'd love to finally do this thing I've been talking about doing and never doing, and write.
Yeah.
And so, the first morning that I woke up at 4:30, I set an alarm for 4:30, and I had the intention to wake up and write. Mm-hmm. It was hard to wake up, but the alarm went off, and I grabbed my glasses because I wear contacts and glasses. And I grabbed my glasses. I got up out of bed. I went to the phone and shut off the alarm, and then I walked out into the living room, turned the lights on, and I sat on the love seat and just started watching Facebook videos trying to wake myself up.
Right.
Getting up wasn't the hard part; it was staying up.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's honestly when I struggle now. I think it was like the 4th day or 5th day. I woke up and I was just, I blogged about it on my Instagram, and I was like, oh God, I did not want to wake up this morning.
Yeah.
Waking up was horrible. But, yeah, I mean, it was like when I got up, I was kind of tired, but, it's not the waking up, it's the staying up.
Yeah.
But honestly, though, I think it's once in a blue moon I have a bad day. For the most part, every day I get up and then I sit down and I'm like, I'm writing today and I'm excited. I'm hyped. I got so much energy because I go to bed early.
Yeah.
So I wake up in the morning, just got so much energy. I'm so excited for the day. I'm so excited to get my writing done. And once my writing's done, I'm like, I can do anything today, and I'll feel like I haven't accomplished a day in my life and not wasted it.
Yeah, I think because everybody is different. Because I know there's days, and I guess it almost I wonder sometimes if it depends on the day that I had before. Because some days I get up and the alarm doesn't even have to wake me up. My body will wake me up. My mind will start going, and I'm ready to go. I'm already, 0 to 60 within the first, 10 minutes of being awake. And there's some days where, it almost feels like your mind won't let you get up. Yeah. It's like your body won't wake up. Your mind won't start rolling. You're kind of just stuck in this, slump in your bed. But it's weird because you're right. I definitely feel more accomplished when I get up early. If I'm up before 7 o'clock in the morning, I know that whatever I'm going to do, like if I'm podcasting that morning and I'm up at 5:30 and we start podcasting, I get everything ready by 6:30. We're podcasting. We're in here for about an hour, and then Blade gets to go to work, and I stay. Excuse me. And I stay and I edit and take care of some of the uploading stuff to YouTube, try to advertise for us a little bit. But for the most part, that's what makes my day feel complete. If I stay in bed past 8 o'clock, my day's over with. I feel like I wasted an entire day.
Yeah,
Clearly I didn't, but I feel that way. That's what goes on in my mind. I feel like if I stay in bed past 8 o'clock, typically that would be a good number for me. Stay in bed past 8, I'm done for. I get up and I feel like, well, now I got to shower. Now I don't know what to do. Now I missed my window to be productive this morning, and it destroys the rest of my day. I feel like if a lot of people got on a better, maybe not a better sleeping schedule, but a better schedule waking up, because the other day when you got here, or I think it was the day that we got up, we were going to do an episode, and we realized that we didn't put out episode 5, so we jumped on that instead. And that morning, I sent a Snapchat out to a few people, and you would be surprised the number of people that respond back with, it's like 2 in the afternoon. I've already had my day. I've already done everything. And their response is, hey, not morning anymore, but I just woke up. No, don't do that to me, because now I'm angry at you that you wasted an entire day when you could have been productive.
Dude, absolutely. I mean, and honestly, I can't talk too much crap because I'd be a hypocrite, because I was on that same thing. Like, I mean, I think you were about to get to a point too where you were saying that, like, waking up earlier can make you like happier almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because like this whole past summer, dude, I hit the lowest financial point of my life, and also too, I feel kind of lost. Like, I'm overwhelmed with options of things to do, but I'm just not. I hadn't been pulled to anything yet, and I was just spent the whole summer sleeping in until like 3-4 p.m. every day, staying up until the sun rises. And then the funny thing is, I'd go outside when the sun was rising. I'd be like, gosh, this is when I want to wake up. Yeah. And I would sleep all day, and I was just depressed. Yeah. So depressed. And I started waking up at 4:30, man. And it's just, for one thing, you're up before the sun, and then I squeeze every bit of sunlight and life out of every day I can, because I'm up before the sun comes up. And then when that sun comes up, I'm either have done a ton of work or finished with work, and I'm just ready to greet the day. And there's just this certain energy you get from the mornings that you don't get from the evenings, and you definitely don't get from night. I mean, I can't stand being up at night anymore. I used to be up all night playing games, and I just can't do it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I don't so much have an easy time going to sleep, but as long as I'm asleep before midnight, if I'm asleep before midnight or right around midnight, it gives me a good 5 hours that I'm passed out, and I sleep good. I mean, like, and most of the time people say, oh, you need this amount of sleep to dream, and what I dream on 5 hours of sleep. 5 hours of sleep to me is good, and I can get up and I can be very, very productive. But I definitely think you're right. There is a different type of energy that comes from those people that find it more productive to wake up in the morning and get it going. People who sleep in, you can have a really productive day, don't get me wrong. You can sleep in till 12 and you can stay up till 3 in the morning and have a really productive day. It just depends on what you're doing. But, like us, I don't want to sit up in the middle of the night trying to keep everybody awake, podcasting or editing, footage on the computer, and sitting up, it almost feels like if you're tired, I bet you wouldn't be able to write clearly as well.
There's no way. Absolutely no way. I mean, when I wake up in the morning, like, that's honestly when I have the most energy throughout the whole day. I've just rested. I wake up. I'm kind of excited for the day to start. And if I didn't get good sleep, or if I wasn't eating properly or anything, then there would be no way I'd be able to write. And it's just, I wouldn't be able to be happy, like in that sense too. Yeah. It's so incredibly important, man, to wake up at a decent hour. And I mean, I guess there's people that are productive at night, and I've done that at once in my life. But when you wake up early in the morning and then you dedicate yourself something to whatever it may be, maybe you go to the gym, you do fitness, maybe it's writing like I do, or you wake up and you draw, whatever it is you do. If you wake up in the morning, you say, you know what, for these 2 hours, I'm gonna do nothing but focus on my craft. Right. I'm gonna focus on bettering myself. When you finish, the day hasn't even started for some people. They're still asleep. Yeah. And like the ego gets fed a little bit, and you're like, oh man, I'm getting a head start on everybody else. And also too, you get to enjoy the rest of the day. I mean, if you start working on something at 11 p.m., Ooh, like what was your day like? If it was a chaotic day and you're tired, how are you gonna be able to get a lot of work done?
Yeah.
And the morning is when you guarantee yourself you're the most refreshed
Yeah.
and most able
No
to
kidding.
do things.
And I wonder how many people get to the point where you touched on it a second ago before when you were talking about how depressing it can get. Because and I can agree with that. I can speak on that as well, because I know there was a point in my life, and me and Blade talked about it on a podcast. I think it might have been episode 4, it might have been 5, I'm not sure. Where you don't have any motivation because you can't find your fire. You can't find what you're on fire for. So people ask you, and everybody has those people in their family. Everybody's got those friends. Like, dude, what do you want to do? What do you really want to do? Because I ask myself that. I ask other people that, because not only do I want to know, I want to figure it out myself, what I want to do, but I want to figure out what my friends want to do. I want to make sure my friends are motivated, and I've been that type of person my whole life. I always want to be there for my friends. But it brings up conversation within my own head where I'm like, what do any of us want to do? Like when you're sitting and you're thinking, you have some people that get really good at something, and then they stop because they lose that passion. Well, it's probably because they didn't really have fire for that in the first place. And that's the one thing I found with this. This was one of the first times that there's been a few other things that have made me feel this way, but there's this in particular, most recently in life, the podcasting made me want to wake up. And then when we decided that we all had a schedule to keep, and some of us had to be out of the house by 8:30, then a lot of us, me and Blade both were like, listen, if we want to do this, we're going to have to do it in the morning. We're going to have to suffer. We're going to have to wake up. We're going to have to get after it. So it turned into the very next day, I set my alarm for 5:30, and I was like, man, it's going to be hard getting used to this. But it was extremely easy. I wanted to be up. I wanted to be awake and doing something that made me happy. And it was episode 5 that we talked about this. But is that what writing does for you? Does writing get you to the point where there's like a fire in your soul? It makes you happy to the point where when you think about waking up the next morning and drinking your hot green tea and writing, does that put a fire in you?
I'll tell you, man, like, this is 100% true. It doesn't matter even if I'm going to have like an amazing day. Like today I got a fun day planned with some friends, and then, Blade's got his rodeo tonight and everything.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the day is. Once I get done writing, and then like I've kind of decompressed from after I finish my writing in the morning for like a 30 minutes to an hour. Once that 30 minutes to an hour is done, I am just like, man, I can't wait to go to sleep tonight so I can wake up in the morning and then write again.
Right.
Yeah. Like I can't wait for the day. Like I love the day and I don't want to waste the day, and I'm excited for the day, but I'm also super excited at the prospect of going to sleep, getting my energy back, and then wake up in the morning starting it over again. Almost on the level that it's just like all I want to do is sit down and write. And I can't do that. You can't just sit there. I can't sit there and write for 12 hours in a day. It's just not going to happen, because, I mean, you could probably get yourself up to where you can do a lot of hours, but, I mean, you wouldn't go to the gym 4 times in one day.
Yeah.
That would be insane. And you wouldn't go to the gym and work out for 8 hours straight. I mean, some people probably can, but if you do, man, that's almost like overtraining. And I know a lot of people argue whether or not overtraining exists.
Right.
But there really is that with the creative mind too, and within the pursuit of art. If you just saturate your life with the craft, then you won't have any inspiration or anything to draw on to actually create. So, like, I actually try to make myself, like, some mornings I don't want to stop. But, like, Ernest Hemingway said that, you stop while you're ahead, basically. He said when the going's good, that's when you stop. He said, and then don't think about your writing for the day, like the story itself, because it'll be in your subconscious. You'll be working it out when you hit the next morning, start writing. And I've been doing that, and it works perfectly. So
I tell you what, has that ever happened to you? Excuse me. Has that ever happened to you with an argument? Because when you said in your subconscious you think about it, and then when it gets there, you've already, that creative spark is already gone. You've already thought about it. You already played it out in your head. That happens to me with debating with people. If I'm upset at somebody, it will take over my thoughts to the point where when it comes time to confront that person, sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, I forgot what I was coming to confront you about, because I've already thought about it 100 times, and I had this perfect argument to shut you down, and now I'm kind of clueless. I'm stuck. That has, I don't know if that happens to you with that, but I think I think that might translate to a lot of other things besides creativity.
Well, what happens with me on that is it's on the same level, but for
Mhm.
me, it's that old saying of like when you get angry at someone and you write a letter to them, put it in the desk for a day, and then come back to it the next day, see if you want to send it.
Yeah.
So like if I have like anger at someone, the best thing for me to do is like I just tend to walk away from the situation because I don't want to act in emotion.
Mhm.
I don't like acting with emotion. Like acting, making decisions with emotion is, I think, one of the worst things you can do. Emotion's a wonderful thing,
Yeah.
and especially positive emotion. And even negative emotion at times can be a fuel and can be a driving factor. It's a wonderful thing. If you're in a sport and you're competing and then you get angry at the other team and then all of a sudden this adrenaline kicks and like that's good. But for me, yeah, I just try to ignore it and try not to think about it and let it sit in the back of my mind and not give it any conscious thought, because when I come back, I won't be as angry almost all the time, or I'll feel bad for the person, or I'll feel bad for what I've said, or I'll empathize with them. Like I had a fight with my roommate recently, and I was like, screw this, like I just ignored it and I didn't even think about it.
Mhm.
And then 12 hours later, it kind of got back into the mind or got brought back up somehow. And at that point, I was like, you know what, I'm sorry, like. Because I was feeling bad for her. I was like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I feel bad for you. Like in the sense of, dealing with me or dealing with the situations. Like, I actually empathize with how she was feeling on it.
Right.
So, but, I mean, when I do that with writing, though, it's not that I forget about it. It's just that I don't think about it. And also, too, it's not like when I come back to it the next day, I've forgotten where I was.
Mhm.
When I sit down the next morning, I can almost recite word for word the sentence I stopped on. Like, it's there.
Wow.
It's just a matter of I don't think about it.
Well, what made you realize that you wanted to write? Was there a specific instance in your life, or has it just always, because some kids, as a kid, they have a passion and they want to play football. Was it that way with you with writing, or did it come from an external source?
I'm almost positive it came externally. I mean, there's other factors that are internal with it. Like, for example, I'm really good at lying. And I even to this day, I love to lie. Not because, like, I want to, deceive anyone. It's just that it's fun to me. Like, it's fun because lying is telling a story in a way. And like,
Blade has told me that you were like that, so
oh yeah,
I'm glad that got brought up.
I like to lie. I tend to only lie on things that are funny,
right,
or like ridiculous, or tend to lie. Like I don't lie on like just all over the place. So if you hear me tell stories, 9 times out of 10
he's not a liar, folks.
I'm not a liar.
He's not a liar.
I'm not a liar. I just enjoyed it when I was younger. Actually, I'm getting to the point now where I've got this new thing in my life where I'm like, I don't lie. I've told myself, I'm like, I'm not lying anymore. I'm just gonna tell the truth, unless it's gonna hurt somebody or hurt me. I'm gonna tell the truth. So, but yeah, so when I was younger, that's that was the thing. I enjoyed lying a lot, and like I enjoyed telling stories. And then my mom used to read to me every night. Mm-hmm. So before, like every night, she was a single parent. She did an amazing job. Love you, Mom. And she used to read to me every night before bed, and I 100% feel like that's where my love of reading and my love of writing comes from, because she would read to me, and I just got so enveloped in the stories. And then eventually, we got the Scholastic Book Fairs when we were younger.
Oh yeah,
how dope that was! You'd go in there like looking to buy erasers and like the board games and stuff, but I wound up, getting a book a couple of times, and I remember one of the first books I got from the Scholastic Book Fair that was a novel was Captain Underpants.
Uh-huh.
And I read it, and I was just, there was a scene in the book, and in my young mind, I saw it so perfectly like I was watching a movie.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. And I was like, dude, writing just put me in some head, like I can see it. Yeah. And I was thrown back because I hadn't attempted to read in a serious, serious manner before that. And this, it's like maybe 3rd or 4th grade. And then after that, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna write my own stories. So then I don't know how many incomplete books and novels I have written on my computers and in notebooks from when I was 9 years old up. It's just so, I mean, my whole life has been like that. And I think with writing, though, as a craft, really I got serious about it in high school with my freshman English teacher, Miss Josie. You remember Miss Josie? Did you go to, because you went to Rossview.
No, because I did go to Rossview, but I didn't start going to Rossview until I was a junior.
Oh man, well she actually I think she taught my freshman and junior English class. But Miss Josie, I was just a horrible kid in high school, man, horrible. I mean, I think I missed something like 200 plus days, and I graduated with a 1.2 GPA. And I was in trouble all the time just because I hated it. There's no challenge. Public school systems, I hate them. I hate public school. I think they make us into drones, basically. Like, they don't teach us how to think. And when I was in that English class, like she actually honed in on what my skill was, and
Yeah.
it was analytical. It was an analytical mind for reading and writing. And she really, I remember one time she brought up one essay. We had to do an essay we had to pick a topic and argue why teachers should or shouldn't be allowed to carry guns in school. And it was for like some statewide mandate thing for testing our writing abilities. And I wrote my essay, and at the end of my essay, I ended it with a sentence I was very proud of, and I said, "It is blatantly apparent that teachers should not be allowed to carry firearms." I disagree with that now, but I said, "It is blatantly apparent that teachers should not be allowed to carry firearms." She put it up on the projector. She was like, "But look how powerful his conclusion is, that starting sentence." And she screamed it. "It is blatantly apparent." And like she was yelling it, and like she got so enthusiastic, and I was like, wow, my writing's enough to make somebody yell and get excited. And all my friends in the class were like, "Dang, you know, that's pretty good." And I was like, bro, yeah. And then after that, I was like, I'm
It's
writing.
the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
at that point, I was already into writing and reading. But like with that class and with her and with that moment too, I was like, dude, writing.
I think that a lot of kids, and I only want to touch on this because it's something that I care about,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of kids like yourself, like me, Blade, a lot of children grow up with, you know, the fire to find something that they are good at. And I
Right.
think a lot of kids come across, I think before, when you're an adult, I think that's when you get stuck on the search of what is it that sets me on fire. But as a kid, something can cross you, and you're, you know, either you're very impressionable or you're just naturally creative. You have that spark in your mind that you want to search out different things. And I think so many kids would be saved, you know, through life if they just had teachers that would reach out, like you said that Miss Josie did for you.
Yeah.
That if they would reach out
Big time.
and help you find that spark, you know, like if you're, you know, science teachers. I used to have this this ecology teacher, and it was video quiz, video quiz, video quiz, video quiz, over and over and over again. And I had math teachers that would get so angry that they would, you know, like they would almost stop teaching, and then they would just write a bunch of problems on the board, and they wouldn't help anybody. Nobody learned. The highest grade in the class was like a C, you know. And I'm like, and that's a product of the type of teacher that you are.
Yeah.
If you get stuck with, you know, a teacher that, oh man, he's just fed up with the type of kids that people are becoming these days, and you know, it's gonna destroy, you know, their developmental process. You know,
100%.
becoming what they are, like searching what they want to find, searching for what they're good at. Yeah, the viewers all know that right now we're living we're doing this podcast in my kitchen. So sometimes, you know, things happen, and you run across roommates, and, you know, life goes on. But I definitely think there's a lot of kids, because I found myself struggling for the longest time in adulthood because of things that happened to me when I was younger. Because I
Right.
did it because of, like, you know, I had a period where I fucking loved soccer. Soccer was my life, and because I had these asshole coaches, and I was a part of, you know, like where if you were a popular kid in school and your parent had money, then on the booster club, the coaches paid more attention to your parents. And I remember
Makes sense.
there was times in practice where I would look at other people, and they would run slower than me. They wouldn't try as hard as me, and I felt like I was busting my ass. And then I would start 3 games in a row, and I'm like, all right, here it comes. This is my breakaway time. This is where I'm going to shine, where I'm really going to become something. And then, you know, like we'd be at a home game, and then be like, oh, so and so's parents going to be in the crowd. Well, that means he gets to start today.
Dang, that
You
is
know, like,
awful.
and it was like it was rough, because it turned me off, because I was like, is this what soccer's like? Like, it's a popularity contest. Like, it doesn't matter who's working harder. It matters, you know, who the coach
Yeah.
likes more.
I
And
mean,
but the varsity, I'll take that back, because the varsity coach wasn't like that. There was moments where we were playing against really rough teams, and I was only an 8th grader or a freshman, and, you know, like, one of the dudes got hurt or somebody got a yellow card, and he would pull them out and fucking put me in, and I'm like, whoa, I don't deserve to be in this fucking varsity game at such a young age. You know, like, my skill level isn't here yet. And but he would put me in, and I wouldn't, you know, like, I wouldn't make any mistakes. I played very safe. I played very, you know, aware. But the JV coaches was not like that. And I think and that translates to teachers, to coaches, to anybody. If people would just realize how impressionable kids are and what really goes on in their head, they're so much smarter than you realize.
Big time, dude.
And they think about more than you think they do. Because
big time. Like, I mean, and honestly, it's just the system is set up to fail most kids because we give everybody an education that's exactly the same, and not everybody's going to receive that. Like, not everybody's going to fit into that mold. And also, too, I mean, it's, we don't look at children as individuals and help them find what they love when they're younger. I mean, it's so important to find what you love. I mean, that's what I've been struggling with my whole life, basically. And even up until, even the past few years, I've been struggling with it. And it's important not only to show them what they love, but how to approach it. How to approach something you love and how to actually take it serious and then get the joy out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the past, like, I just graduated from MTSU this past December, and I spent the first 2 years I was in community college and I was, pursuing theater and having a good time. And then when I got to MTSU, I was like, nah, I need to do writing because writing is my true passion. And then when it came to, getting MTSU and starting writing, like, I just found out, I was like, man, I hate the process. Like, I hated it. I hated writing. I just did. And I couldn't just sit down to write. And I felt like, for other writers that were sitting down and writing, I heard plenty of them say, like, oh, yeah, we all hate it. And I didn't accept that because I was like, no, you got to love it.
Yeah.
And then also, too, I was like, but some of them are sitting down. Like, I read Stephen King's On Writing, and he said in it that he said even the worst moments of his writing career where he was sitting down writing, he said even those worst moments of writing were still pretty damn good. That's what he said. And I was like, yeah, dude, absolutely. Like, I want to like actually fall in love with the process, and nobody helped me do it. And it took me, I'm 26 years old, and it took me to getting 26 years old. And it's only like, a couple weeks ago that I've fallen in love with the process itself. And falling in love with the process, I kind of hate even saying that. It's almost like a buzzword, like this little phrase that people throw out.
Well, don't hate it, because I want to pause you real quick, because there is something that you're talking about right now that I think not enough people are going to hear, but that everyone should hear.
What's that?
And that's falling in love with the process.
That's 100%. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you got to.
There's so many things that, like, we were talking about having a fire for something, and if you say that you have a fire for something, and and don't get me wrong, sometimes someone else's process may not be your process,
right?
But if you can fall in love with what it takes to get there,
the work,
yes,
the
if
work
you can
itself.
fall in love with practicing.
I would say falling in love with the work is a better phrase.
Yeah.
So, and because falling in love with the process almost implies in falling in love with the physical action of doing it, or like the actual, like, the step by step of doing it. And I think that that's not necessarily possible for a lot of people. Like, when I'm sitting there writing, I'm not like every word I'm writing like, oh my god, it's so good. I'm not like, spazzing on myself when I'm writing. I kind of start to trance out and zone out and like focus in on the writing, and like I'm just in another place just writing. And I'm not sitting there geeking the whole time. I mean, there were moments, like I had a moment like my second day of writing where I was writing, and that day I had written 2,800 words in like a couple hours, 3 hours, and it was insane to me. But I was just sitting there writing, and then I just I got out of it because, there's that, which we should probably talk about at one point, that discussion of flow, like that flow state, the flow chart of working in flow, like, and that's why I was in the flow of working. And then I kind of got pulled out of it for a second. And when I got pulled out of it, I just sat back and I was just like, I just started grinning, and I was like, and I got all excited, and I was like, and I wanted to make a noise, and I was like, dude, I'm doing it, and it feels good. Yeah. It's not that like I'm super excited the whole process, but it feels good. Because I'm doing the work, and I'm not thinking too hard about. Look, I think that's an important part too. Don't think too hard about the work itself. Yeah. Like, do it, but it's like I fell in love with the work, like, because before writing, I was in love with the idea of writing.
Right.
And I knew I wanted to write, but I was in love with the idea of writing. And I think with a lot of people out there right now, like, there's a lot of people they wanna like program video games. Mm-hmm. They want to be painters. They want to do all of these things, but they're more in love with the idea of doing it. Like, a perfect example of that for me with writing was I was always trying to buy new journals and new pens to write with and, like, create the new writing space. And I was looking at pictures of people's desks, and I wanted the roll top desk. And I was trying to find, I wasn't going to buy a little laptop so I can carry it around. And I was more in love with the idea of, like, sitting down and writing than actually doing the work and loving the work itself. And that's what a lot of people get hung up on. So like, I mean, I got friends. It's like, actually when you first started doing the podcast, we were talking about that. I was like, don't get hung up on getting the super nice mics and getting the good camera. And I said, don't get hung up on doing that. That's something that can happen later. For right now, just try to do. And you can tell people they're never gonna do it. When I first started doing film work, because that's like one of my hobbies that I really love. Like I was like, oh, I gotta buy the best camera immediately, the best mic immediately. If I don't do it, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
And we tend to get hung up on the idea of doing things instead of the actual work.
Yeah. I think I got stuck with the deciding factor of when I was going to podcast for the first time was when I got all the equipment, I got the mixer, we set up the computer, we set up the mics, and I tried my best not to do anything to spend. The most expensive thing I have is the mixer, and it wasn't even $200. And but I did put money into it because in the back of my mind I was like, I don't want to look like shit while I'm recording or while I'm doing this. I want to look like I really care about what I'm doing. You want to be
presentable.
Yeah, I want to be presentable. I want to look like I'm trying to be professional. I'm probably not considered a professional now, but that's my goal.
That's important.
But what changed my mind about that whole look was I was like, when we realized the camera that we had bought months prior, that we bought for taking pictures while me and Blake were traveling, and we bought for like little skits. We didn't need, a high video limit, and the camera we have only goes up to 30 minutes. So I was like, oh, well, I can talk for 30 minutes just looking at myself in the mirror. What happens if I hit somebody in front of me? I'm going to be talking for an hour and a half, and the damn, the camera's going to shut off. And I looked up real quick, and I was like, how long can an iPhone 7 record? And it was like, if you have the iPhone 7, blah, 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 it can record in 4K. It can record up to, 2 hours and like 59 something minutes or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But as long as you have the memory, it can go and go and go and go and go until you run out of memory, obviously. And I was like, you know what? And I looked at Blade, and I was like, dude, are you okay with getting up in the morning and doing one tomorrow morning? And he was like, let's do it right now. And I was like, all right, dude, let's do it. So we got together and we sat down on the table and we started recording. And that was like, I would say that was our official practice run. We didn't release that one. We didn't put that out on YouTube, but that was our real practice run where we decided this is like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm comfortable here.
Yeah.
I have no problems talking to anyone. I have no problems asking questions. And this is the one thing I have been telling people for the longest time. I'm like, I don't know if I could do stand-up comedy, but I know that if I can sit down and have the type of creative conversations with myself, what can I do if I have a topic to talk about? What can I do? And I've always been that person. I like making people laugh. I like being the center of attention. Yeah. I like and some people, and this is why I brought up about how impressionable kids are. I was always told that was bad.
Yeah.
I was always told as a kid that, you're an attention seeker, put you on some medicine.
Does not work well with others, disturbs class.
Yeah, class clown, blah, blah, blah. And then you get older, and then those same people that were telling you, and I'm going to get a little passionate because this puts a fire in my soul, those same people that tell you don't be a class clown, don't seek for attention, don't be out of hand, this is what you're supposed to do. They download this supposed to lifestyle into kids across America where they think being like that is wrong. Then your entire childhood you're in trouble. Your entire childhood you're watched by every adult because they think you're some crazy little kid, doesn't have any discipline. And then turns out when you get older, those same people that were trying to shut you down and control you end up becoming a comedian making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and they're still stuck fucking teaching. And they're fucking. And it goes down.
And it's not bad if they love to do that.
Yeah, if you love to do it and that's your passion, then do it. Money is not the object there.
Yeah, it was really not.
But when it comes to doing what makes you happy, stop fucking shutting kids down because you're ruining them for the rest of their life. And then you get these people that, and I have grown up around them. Some of them are in my family, and I love them to death, and I will never stop loving them. But their mind is so limited to what can happen in life.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with a family member who I hold very close to my heart, and I sat down, and I used to get angry about this. I'm like, you don't understand that that's not what I'm meant to do. I'm not meant to work an office job. I'm not meant to work in a factory. I can't do that. I will commit suicide within 2 years if I get stuck working a job like that. Because I spoke on this before, where I'm the type of person that I will strive to impress everyone when I start a job. Within a year, I don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm not meant to do that. And then when I found out that, I was like, oh, you know what? Some people were in the same shoes that I was in, and they stopped what they were doing. They were like, I got $5 to my fucking name. What am I going to do? Well, risk it. I guess I'm going to be homeless for a little bit, but I'm going to keep going until I make it.
Right.
You know, and I think less people would have to get to that rock bottom type mindset before they succeed. If people, adults or role models or guardians, would stop shoving down this idea of you're not going to be successful unless you go to school, graduate, go to college again, get a degree, or go to a trade school after high school, get some kind of licensing, go be an electrician, you'll make great money, go be a doctor, go be a this. And then you get these kids that are lost and they have no idea what they want to do for years and years and years, and they rack up all this money in college, and then they get out and they hate their job, or they get married because they think they're supposed to do that, and then they're stuck in this family that they really don't want because they were never allowed to follow their dreams.
The thing is, we have this wonderful modern society that allows us to have freedom and to do things like, if we go back to medieval times, if you were like, I want to paint, too bad, dude, get out in the field and work, you're gonna starve.
You're right.
But like,
it's definitely easier now.
Yeah, but we're not really embracing it too much with how we treat kids.
Absolutely not.
And honestly, I would have been the same way, like struggling with stuff, people telling me who I am and everything when I was younger, if I didn't have like my mom. My mom, 100%, she always reaffirmed to me. She was like, you can do whatever you want. You're great. Like if I would screw something up at school, and I come to her and bring it to her and say, hey, this whatever. Sometimes she'd get upset because if I was jacking off and like messing around and all that stuff. But like, she would often say to me stuff like, yeah, well, you know what, you're just too smart for that.
Yeah.
And that was just such a huge thing. Like when I got crap from principals and teachers at school, and they're sitting there grilling me and like, your life is gonna da da da. I was just sitting there with really like a smart aleck, just sitting there like, all right, I don't care about this. I'm better than this. I don't care. Like, yeah. I know I'm better than this. My mom, who's amazing, tells me I am. Like, right. What you're saying is irrelevant. I know I'm gonna be awesome. And so the only thing I ever lacked growing up was just discipline and work ethic, and that's because I didn't really have a prominent male figure at all in my life.
Right.
And the male figures that were around were lazy as hell. Just super lazy, or just whatever, selfish, just whatever it was. But so the only thing I lacked growing up was a discipline and work ethic, and it's something I'm finally getting now. But I never had that doubt of like, I can't, like, I've always been like, I'm not gonna work a regular job. I'm gonna do exactly what I want to do. I can honestly say I haven't held a regular job for more than 4 months in my entire life. I mean, the last job I worked for an extended period of time was 2 years. I was at MTSU. I worked at the Writing Center, and I was tutoring other students in writing. I'm getting paid good money, and I tutor like mostly multilingual international students, like tutor them in English. But I tutor a lot of, like, I would do creative writing, partnerships where I'd work with somebody over a semester on the novel, and that didn't feel like a job to me because it was what I love to do.
Right.
And so I've always told myself, I'm not going to work a regular job. I'm going to do exactly what I love to do, and I'm always going to find a way to make it work. And I've gotten lucky enough, because luck has something to do with it, that I have not had to bend my knee and work for the man and do anything other than what I want to do.
Yeah, I definitely
and I'm
think
blessed.
I was just about to say that's a blessing that you have been able to do that, and I would say that I'm not far behind. I've definitely worked regular jobs a little bit longer, and I had certain family members that really helped me out along the way when I got to that point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. They were like, don't worry, take the time, whatever. But I would say that is one person, and that really...
That's all you need, though, man.
Yeah, that maybe didn't agree with my mindset, but wanted to see me happy, so that they were willing to stick their neck out for me, and do what they could to help while I was still trying to figure everything out. But I will say that I wish that there was a movement or something that happened in the world where people started realizing, because I was going to get to this point earlier and I got sidetracked like I typically do, but the conversation I had with a loved one where I used to get really angry because like I was saying, I'm not meant to fucking be like everybody else. I won't ever be like everybody else. I won't be like this person or that person. It's not going to happen. But what I finally sat down and told them, because they would, they had this mindset, well, that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to school. Everybody does this. Everybody does that. That's how life works. And I sat across from her and I said, do you really believe that though? Do you really believe that that's what everybody does? So that's what The Rock did. That's what Matthew McConaughey did.
Yeah.
That's what Jim Carrey did. That's what, Bill Gates did. That's what Steve Jobs did. That's what Donald Trump did. That's what all of them. They all chose that same route to go to school, to learn a trade, to tackle it. And no, and even if they did follow a similar path, they did it their own way.
And eventually, at one point, they broke away.
Yeah, and the people that, you ask yourself and you're like, because I've been there before, and I know that people do ask this question, how did they do that? How did they get to the point where they're at right now, where they're making millions of dollars? It's because they chose to take the path less traveled.
Right.
And they chose to become unique.
Mm-hmm.
If you do, I can use something. I'm very passionate about coffee. I fucking love coffee. I need coffee in the morning. I want it in the afternoon. I can drink 2 cups of coffee I can make a very bold coffee and then take a nap. I just love coffee. It doesn't control me. I genuinely love coffee. But there are these people. Recently, there's been like a surge in how many people love coffee. If you get on Instagram and you scroll down your Explorer, you'll see, Caveman Coffee, Invader Coffee, Iron Grip Coffee. You got all these different people that are coming up with these coffee names and brands, but they may follow a certain guideline to how they make the coffee or how they, get their grounds or whatever. But the simple fact is that they were unique. They stand out from everybody else. Right. They did something a little bit different, and they made it. And then it caught on, and it caught traction, because I tell you what, no one wants to be like you if you're like everyone else.
Yeah, and I think something's important with that, too, is not trying to be unique. What you should try to do is be yourself.
Be yourself, yes.
Because if you're true to yourself, then if you just stay true to yourself and work hard and try to get better, eventually something's going to come your way. Especially with the advent of the internet, there's no more middleman.
Oh,
there's no more gatekeepers.
You're not kidding.
It's like anybody can. We see it now with music and with lots of things. Like people that we're like, what we might disagree with, but anybody can get famous. Anybody can make a good money doing what they want to do for a living. And I think one of the big keys to it is you see a lot of these people that are succeeding is like they just stay true to themselves. They do their thing. Yeah. Like I think they rarely will bite the bullet and do what anybody else wants to do. Maybe back in the day they did that. Like I heard it was Bill Burr. He was talking about, he did a little joke, a little bit about Oprah Winfrey back in the day, how she used to have she would have little people, like dwarfs on her show. I don't know what the proper term is, I'm sorry, but she'd have little people on her show, and they'd be fighting and stuff, and it was like a Jerry Springer thing, and she didn't want to do it, but she did it for the time being until she was big enough so she didn't have to make that decision. Right. Yeah, back then she had to, because if she wanted to get into the television business and have her own show, well, there was gatekeepers. There was people that, they were the middleman. They were like, you're not getting a show until I say you can. Right. But right now, guess what? If you want to do a show like Oprah Winfrey, go put it on YouTube. Yeah. Or film yourself and put it on YouTube. Absolutely. Start inviting people from your neighborhood over as the audience and whatever. And guess what? You can 100% blow up and do it yourself. And the key is that you can do it and stay true to yourself. Yep. Oprah Winfrey is huge because she's true to herself. Yeah. She does her thing her way. Yeah. Maybe in the beginning she had to bend the knee a bit. But right now, she's huge. And the reason she blew up so big is because she was true to herself.
Well, I think that might be something that almost, I wouldn't say makes people or forces people, but influences people to give up. Because some people, and this is something that I will say in the same conversation that I was talking to a individual in my family, and I asked her the question, do you really believe that everyone does everything the same way? Do you truly believe that? And, if you want to know how that conversation ended, no, she didn't. I was able to, convince her that the way I thought, some people think that way. Some people do end up, going through life that way. Some people are successful that way. Mm-hmm. But another thing is I think people fall short because they're like, you said I could be myself, and I'll make it, because if I stay true to myself, you know, other people will see my individuality and they'll, you know, follow my, you know, what I'm doing. And that is true. I will never tell you that is not true.
But they use it as an excuse to not get better.
Yeah, what I will say, though, is that if you're going to do something that you want to do and you're going to make your own path, you have to bust your ass. And part of that is you might have to work a job you don't want to work for a little bit until you can make the money where you can break off and go, hey, guess what? Fuck you. Now I can break away. Now I can take all this money that I was basically your slave and busting my ass for you shitty fucking boss. And now you know what I can do? Now I'm going to take all that money that you paid me and I'm going to go start a podcast and talk about how much I hate people like you. So,
well, I mean, it's important to know, like, because as much as I believe that you got to stay true to yourself and do your own thing and follow your own path, I am 100% like, it's something. If I have kids, when I have kids, because I plan to have kids, I'm gonna instill in them. And it's just, you have to do things in life sometimes you don't want to do.
That is,
and there's
very
no
true.
Getting around it, because there's basic needs for survival. That's why. It's not because, like, in my writing, I will never do anything in my writing I don't want to do. If somebody, like, you know, is like, oh, you should, you know, do this, or you shouldn't write this kind of story, you should write this kind of story, I'm going to go, no, screw you, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to stay true to myself and my art and in my craft.
If I want to write it, I'm going to write it.
Yeah, but in life, you have to do things you don't want to do. Yeah. So, like, when my car breaks down, and as much as I hate working on a car, I went out, my car broke down recently, and I didn't have the money to take it to a mechanic, and I wouldn't want to do that anyways, so I spent 5-6 hours out there under the hood doing the most meticulous. I hate working on cars. I hate it. It's meticulous. The tight spaces, you can't get it to crank. Yeah. I hate it. And I sat out there for 5 to 6 hours and I got that car fixed. And it's something I had to do no matter how much I didn't want to do it.
Yep.
And it had nothing to do with my craft. It had nothing to do with writing. But it's what I needed to do in order to continue writing. Because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't get to work.
Right.
And if I couldn't get to work, then I couldn't make money and I couldn't live. And if I can't live and I can't eat, then I can't write.
Right.
And so there's some things you have to do in life, and the things you have to do revolve around the basic necessities of life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always going to have bills. You're always going to need to eat. You're always going to, you know, you may not have a car payment because you've paid your car off, but you're always going to have insurance. And there's certain things in life that you're going to have to do, and you're correct. They're typically based off the necessities of what it takes to live or what it takes to function within society. But beyond that, you do not have to. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to fucking, you know, and maybe if your passion is being a fucking doctor, then yeah, you do got to go to school. There is a lot of things you have to learn. But
100%.
I think so back to this conversation that I had, one of the things that I remember that this individual said to me was that, you know, if you don't go to school or if you don't work, then what are you going to do for work? What are you going to do for money? And I thought about it for a minute, and it kind of took me back and almost shut down my whole argument. I was like, well, how am I going to make money? You know, because this podcast isn't going to take off, and I promised myself that I would do this for a year no matter what, even if no more than 50 people a video watches, I'm going to do it for a year. Number one, because I enjoy it and it makes me happy. But number two, I'm learning.
Yes.
I'm learning the entire time that I'm doing this. Every single day, I'm learning things from other people. I'm learning things dealing with technology. I'm learning how to be in front of a camera. I'm learning how to talk on a mic, and that some people don't even understand how to have that skill.
Yeah.
But importantly, and I'll let you get back to what you were getting at. But importantly, is when she asked me, what are you going to do for work? And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, wait a minute. Just because someone else may look at this and go, that's not work, I'm working.
Yeah.
You know, this right now, I'm not getting paid for this, and I'm going to have to work another job to support this, what I love, until this becomes what pays me. This is work. I'm getting up every morning before most of you even think about getting out of bed. I'm awake. I'm setting up, you know, wires. I'm setting up cameras. I'm setting up mics. I'm checking mics. I'm setting up an audio board. I'm checking up, you know, I'm setting up, you know, Mixcraft. I'm working. I'm setting up camera angles. I'm making sure that everything works out right. I'm getting everything ready so that when it comes time for me to start talking and start podcasting, everything is ready. And then I have to make sure that this podcast isn't shitty. And I have made comments to people that said, you know, hey, I really enjoyed this, but this, and, you know, I don't really accept criticism because this is my fucking show and I'm going to run
Yeah.
it how I want it ran. But I do think about the things that people say, and I think my main goal, and I've told this to quite a few people that have asked me, what's your end goal here? What are you, why are you doing this? Because I want to get better and better. I want to get to the point where this is that workflow to me. This is that natural flow of things where I can get in front of a mic and I can talk, and I can make it look like I'm in front of a mic 24/7. This is my life. This is what I do. This is what I'm good at, because it's something that I genuinely, inside of me, I enjoy. Something that I have said through dating, through friendships, through, meeting people, through disagreeing with people. One of the most important things in life to be happy is communication.
Yeah.
That can throw a wrench in so many different type of relationships that you have in your life. Not just dating, not just with friends, with bosses, with everything. And if you cannot communicate correctly or have an intellectual conversation with someone, you fall short in a lot of areas. And that's something that I take pride in, something that I wish when I sit down with my friends, sometimes I'm like, man, sometimes I just want to get deep. Sometimes I just want to get into something that maybe other people are uncomfortable talking about, and I want to find out, I want to pick your brain. I want to find out what's going on in your head, because sometimes I'll get off on these like tangents inside my own head, and I won't even be listening to what everybody else is doing.
Right, yeah.
Because it I don't know if it matters to me or why I care about it so much, but being thoughtful and talking are something that I'm good at. It comes naturally to me. So if it comes naturally to me, it's something that I want to attack. I want to be good at.
Right. Well, the funny thing is too, I feel like we're also contradicting ourselves a lot in this, and because it's something I say a lot to my friend. Like, I've been talking to my buddy Chance about this a lot, and I say it to him all the time. I said, life is paradox. So everything in life is like, you do something and you're always doing one thing and you're always doing the opposite simultaneously. So like, back to what we were saying about, we have to do things we don't want to do and everything. It's like you mentioned that, I think you mentioned that doctors, if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to med school.
Yeah.
So there's no getting around it. That's something you have to do.
Right.
And so when you're doing your craft, you have to absolutely do something you don't like. It's not that you don't want to do it. It should be part of what you do, and you should enjoy that process of it. Like, I mean, for example, for me, if I'm as a writer, like, I couldn't be a writer if I didn't read.
That's true.
If I didn't read books every day, I read a book every day, like, and at least, if at the minimum, I read for an hour before bed every night. And if I didn't read every single day, then I could not be a writer. Like Stephen King, he says it in his book on writing. He says, if you don't have the time to read, then you don't have the tools or the time to write.
Right.
And so everything we do almost is in paradox. So in your craft, you should never listen to somebody else, and you should never do, what they say. You should stay true to yourself. But at the same time, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. You should live the type of life you want and not be a mindless drone, and you should be working towards whatever your passion is. But at the same time, you should not you're going to have to work a regular job. You're going to have to make money. So much of life is a paradox. Much of life is...
It's the fucking yin and the yang, man.
Exactly. Yin, I say that all the time.
Yeah.
I say that all the time, dude. Because it's so true. Like, you can't have light without dark, and, like, everything is dependent on each other. Everything you do in life, you have... Like, I'll often give my friends advice, and then when I give them advice, I'll go, but wait, but you have to understand. And I say the exact opposite of it.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly living on this tightrope. We're balancing back and forth between two things. You have to have balance.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna fall one way or the other.
Yep.
And it just doesn't. Life doesn't work out for you like that.
I agree with that 100%, because thinking about how often I have said, I'm not fucking working another job for another shitty ass person. I'm gonna start living my life how I want to live. I want to travel and I want to podcast. That's what I want to do, and I want to make a career out of it. And I got to the point where when I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to be able to fucking travel, and I'm not going to be able to podcast how I want to do it if I'm not making money. And right now, the podcast doesn't pay the bills. The podcast doesn't make me any money. I'm doing it strictly because I have a passion for it.
Right.
So to sustain, and support this passion, I have to do things that I don't want to do for the time being. Now, am I saying that I'm going to do that forever? No, because I truly believe in myself that I can make this work. I believe that, even the times when I have heard people, friends of mine, that have been joking, and they're like, you know, oh, you podcasting? Oh, you podcasting? Yeah, you doing that? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, and I get upset, and sometimes it does kind of cut deep because I'm like, you know, you're my friend, and you should believe in me just as much. But there's somebody that said something, and I can't think of his name right now, but it stuck with me. Oh, I remember his name now. It's an Instagram fellow. He's a fighter, and he's a world champion kickboxer, Muay Thai fighter, but he goes by the Black Beast. I believe it's the Black Beast or the True Beast or something like Beast something Beast. He's a kickboxer, and I wish I could think of his name, his real name, not his Instagram handle. But he was hitting a heavy bag, and he's just barely tapping the heavy bag, and he's saying there's a very important lesson that we should all learn in life, and that is not everybody is on your path.
Yeah.
Not everybody is on your path. You're going to have people that don't believe in you. You're going to have people that have been your right-hand man or your best friend your entire life, and you're going to want to take them through everything that you do. If you find success, you want them to find success, because that's what humans do. If you care about somebody, you want to see them happy. You want to see them reaching the type of, you know, I guess, goal that you're reaching, you know, success, you know, moving up levels in life. But when he said that, I thought, wow, you know, not everybody in my life is on the same path. I may have a friend that I feel like isn't going to go anywhere. I can help him, but just like I struggled to find my passion, and just like it took me 24 years to realize maybe I don't want to play soccer. Maybe I don't want to be an MMA fighter. What is my real passion? What do I really, really fucking care about? And it took me 24 years to even think of what my passion was. And it may take someone else 30. It may take someone else 40 years. You can't save them, but what you definitely can do is be an influencer and be a role model, because that person may not be on your path. You know, like me and Blade sit here every morning, and probably one of the times that I'm happiest the most in the day is when me and Blade are sitting across from each other, and we're talking and we're bullshitting and we're doing this podcast in the morning. That's, I feel like a genuine happiness inside of me.
But here's the thing, too.
But this might, you know, the podcast might not be his path. It may be mine, and his is obviously something else.
Right, but here's the thing too, because you mentioned that. Something I want to point out that's really important, because I was having a conversation with my friend Danny yesterday about happiness, and the happiness you feel for the podcast, you enjoy it while you're doing it, but that happiness lingers after you get done with the podcast.
Yes,
right?
It does.
That absolutely, and that's something that I think is really important for people to understand too, especially when they're trying to find things that make them happy. I got somebody in my life right now that they're depressed, they're sad all the time, and they have something they say claims makes them happy, and they say, when I'm there, I'm doing this thing, I'm just so excited, and they are making a lot of mistakes in their life, but they're like, you know, I feel so happy when I'm doing it, and in that moment I'm so happy, and it's just, and I say, yes, but what you're doing is escapism.
Thank you.
You are not actually like finding true joy and happiness from this thing. Because here's the thing: when I'm writing,
it's a temporary fix.
Yeah, exactly. It's temporary, because when I'm writing in the morning, and you know, this is something new I'm discovering too. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm just talking about my experience. And when I write in the morning, in the moment, like, I'm not like overwhelmed with happiness in the moment. I'm working. It's work. I'm focused. But I will say one thing: every day I finish writing, especially when I finish writing well. If I get a day where I barely get 1,000 words, I'm probably not feeling too great the rest of the day. But when I write well and I get my work done and I feel proud of what I've done, and that's honestly most days. Like, out of all, like, the past however many days I've been doing, let's say it's 13, I can't remember the day I'm on right now. Like, there's only been 2 days where it hasn't been like that. Every other day, the writing was good, and it just transcended out of that process, and it just bled into the rest of the day, and my entire day I'm happy. No matter what happens, I'm just like, whatever, because tomorrow morning I'll wake up and write.
Yep.
And I feel great, because that's when you know something truly makes you happy, where you're still happy and you're still high off of doing it when you're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to realize, and it's also important for them to realize too that you're not, I don't know, it's so hard to find that passion. It really is. And the only thing I can tell people is find something you're good at, something you have a natural talent for, and that you enjoy to do. If you're good at it and you love doing it, or maybe you've loved the idea of doing it. I didn't love writing when I first fell in love with the idea of writing, but if you're in love with the idea of it, or you're in love with doing it and you're good at it, then just go all in. Put your whole life to it.
I want to say, and sometimes it's not as difficult. Okay. Let me be clear. Sometimes it's difficult because we don't look at things that are right in front of us.
Yeah.
100%. And I will say that was where my biggest issue was because if you sit down and you think about what I've been saying about why I'm so passionate about this and why I'm naturally good at just speaking is because I've done it my whole life. And you would think most people don't do this. Most people don't look at what's right in front of them and go, wow, that's a talent. Whether you want to look at it and call it a talent or not, that's my talent. You know, I had somebody I was talking to yesterday, and they were saying that they didn't know if they had a real talent or not. So one time in college, they had to perform a talent show, but they weren't allowed to act. They were in theater, and they were not allowed to act as their talent. They had to show another talent. And she was like, I don't have any other fucking talents.
Yeah.
You know what she did? She hula hooped, she sang the alphabet, and she braided her hair all at the same time. And when she got done, she took a bow and she said, my talent is multitasking. How many fucking people can braid their hair, hula hoop, and sing the alphabet all at the same time without skipping a beat? There's not too many people that can actually do that, especially the braiding their hair part and hula hooping. And it's funny, and that that's something comical to laugh at, but it's true because when you think about it, I said when I figured out that my talent was speaking in front of people and talking and being an attention seeker, my whole life everybody told me that was bad. My whole life, everybody was like, stop fucking being that way. Stop seeking attention. Stop being a class clown. Stop being a little jackass. But that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
That was a gift given to me by, whatever, my parents or whatever. That's something that came to me as a child.
You didn't have a way to frame it and look at it.
Exactly,
that,
yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? Actually, it's really funny. That movie, Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. And his is it his cousin or his friend or whatever? But he cooks all the time, and he just loves cooking. He's really good at it.
Yeah.
And the whole movie, he's cooking, and he hates his life, he hates his wife, and his kid. He loves his kids, I guess, but he's just not happy.
Fucking
and
kids.
and then it's crazy at the end of the movie, his friend pulls him out and says, "Dude, your thing." And sometimes it comes from a third party, so it comes from a friend, and they tell you, "Dude, your thing is this." And he pulled him out, and they're he should have been a cook the whole time, and he's a cook. And then at the end of the movie, his wife and him were arguing the whole time. And at the end of the movie, they're having a dinner that he cooked for them, and they're just all happy and flirting. And it's just dude, sometimes you don't. It's right in front of you, and you don't see it. Yeah. And I mean, I'm trying to remember, but I just had a moment with that with a friend recently where they were doing, and I was like, oh, dude, you know what you should do? And then we both light bulbed and because sometimes if you're really struggling to find what it is you love, what's your purpose, what's your passion, just you just keep looking. That's all you can do.
I will say this. I will speak on exactly what you're talking about. If you're having a hard time finding your passion, do everything. Don't say no to anything because you never know. Randomly, you could be doing something with a friend, you could be doing something by yourself, and you could find something and go, oh fuck. Why am I so good at this? Or, holy shit, I didn't have any idea that I was just naturally good at this. Yeah. And we were talking about that with Blade. Tonight, actually, he's going to be riding a bull in a rodeo. And a lot of people are saying all the people who have been involved in rodeos, they're telling him the same thing. Everybody is saying the same thing, and they're saying you're either going to do it, and you're like, yeah, I got an experience of riding a bull. How many people can say that? Or it's going to become like a drug, and you're going to want to ride a bull all the fucking time. I think it's the same with runners, with people who podcast, with people who write. Sometimes you're going to do something, and it's going to fill you with a certain type of happiness that you've never felt before, and you're never going to want to stop.
And if you're trying to get to that point too, in my opinion, and just from and most of the stuff I say too, I'm regurgitating from great men that I listen to. I like to watch Joe Rogan's podcast like you do, and he has some really amazing people on there, and they talk about life and happiness. And then Gary Vaynerchuk is a great dude to listen to, in a certain mindset if you have it. But one of the things that if you're looking for it, if you can't find, if you're like, okay, cool, I understand how to do this. I understand how to find something that I'm talented at and that I enjoy doing, but I don't know where to start to find it. My suggestion is anytime you have any interest in anything at all, you're like, that looks like it might be fun. Go all in.
Yeah.
Just push all the chips into the middle of the table and just do it.
Yeah.
And like spend 2 weeks just revolving your life around it. Claim to be that thing. Like if you see somebody playing tennis, you're like, you know what, tennis looks fun. And then you talk to people, what do you do? I play tennis. Like start saying it and doing it all the time and just try it, and then you'll know. Because if you're like, if you go out and play tennis and you talk about tennis all the time, and then you're like, it's fun, but I'm not really, you're not feeling it, or you're not really in love with the idea of it. You're not just like, I want this to be my identity. When you want it to be your identity, and you're like, this is how I want to live my life and like identify myself, then there you go, dude. You're like, all right, that's the thing.
I want to talk about something before we end, because you talking about that sparked a completely different conversation in my mind, and something that I found very important that me and you and I had a conversation about, and something that I just mentioned earlier is back to the everyone is meant to be on their own path. Sometimes your friends, sometimes the people you love the most that you want to be with you on those journeys, they're not going to come with you on those journeys because they're not meant to. That's not their road in life. That's not their path in life. You have to be willing, if you love something, to do it alone sometimes. But the reason why I want to connect it to what the conversation that you and I had, weeks ago, is that sometimes you're going to, like we were talking about how you're going to start doing this, and then I'm going to start podcasting, and I'm going to want all my friends to be involved, and I'm going to want everybody to do it with me. And you specifically told me that there's things that you have started doing with film, with writing, with video, with skits, with whatever, and you have said over and over again to certain friends, dude, let's go do this. And they're like, I'm not into that. No, I'm not into that. And then you finally go, you know what? I don't need you. I'm going to do it on my own.
Right.
And I'm going to step out and take a risk. And before long, you had those same people who said, oh, I don't want to do that, or oh, I don't got time for that, or that don't sound too fun. Now all of a sudden they're like, hey, can I do that with you? Hey, can I be a part of that? 100%. Hey, can I be a part of that? And I think a lot of it goes back to the same thing. To be successful, you have to separate yourself from everyone else.
100%.
Nobody is going to be successful if you're like someone who's already doing that.
Yeah.
And
it's going to take people helping you out for you to become successful. Somebody's going to throw you a bone. Some people are going to watch your content. Like, people are going to help you get there. But for the actual work and for the actual process,
no one else is going to do the work for you.
You cannot lean on anybody for, like, it's just, if you want to make films, which is something I had to struggle with, and it's what helped me realize that films is not my love like writing is that when I had nobody that would come to act and I had nobody to help me do films, I didn't just go, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do a solo one-man film. I mean, there's a guy in Europe that did a film by himself with one camera, a crappy little camera. Werner Herzog praised it. He was like, yeah, it was an amazing film. If you don't have the capacity to say, you know what, if I don't have anybody else, I'm just going to do a one-man film on my own, then you probably shouldn't do film. And that's with everything. So if you really love it and want to do it, you will do it no matter whether or not people are going to do it with you. Even if it's a team thing. Like, if it's a team sport, you're going to go out there and practice your shot every day, whether or not teammates are on the court.
Yep.
Because guess what? Like, and it's like you said, dude, when you start doing well and you start doing a good job and you're enjoying it, people start to feed off that and they want to jump on board.
Yep.
So if you just work by yourself and work hard and produce quality content of work by yourself before you actually get anybody on board, they're gonna come.
I want to give somebody a shout out real quick, and it's probably somebody who doesn't watch this show, but she's a young MMA fighter. And when she first started, and she may be offended by me saying this, but she was vocal about how much fun and how much passion she had in the sport of mixed martial arts, and how badly she wanted to be a professional and how hungry she was for it. And a lot of people ridiculed her for that. Oh, you fake bitch, you're never going to fucking, you're not going to fucking make it. You're too small, you're too loudmouth. People like you always get shut up, stuff like that. So she faced a lot of that as an amateur. Recently, she went pro, she went professional, and she's still doing it the same way. Something that she posted, and someone else may have said it, but it brought it to my attention when she made the post, is that she said, the things that you practice in private are the things that you will be praised for in public.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought about that, and I not that it would have hit me the same if anyone else said it, but it definitely hit me hard because it came from her, because we weren't close friends or anything, but I knew her, And I knew you can get on, social media and see what people say or what they've said in the past to her. So I knew that she went through a period where she really fucking loved something and she really cared about it, and everybody else was trying to shoot her down because, number one, people live fucking lives in despair, quiet lives of despair, when they sit back and they look on their phone, and everybody who's doing something that they want to do, or they want to do something outside of their comfort zone but they're too fucking scared to do it, they ridicule those people that step outside the comfort zone. Because they're alone. When you step outside that comfort zone, you don't have anybody there to defend you. You're by yourself. And it's just like you were talking about how you said that, you got to be willing to do it alone. You got to be willing to practice alone. You got to be willing to do things by yourself when people aren't watching, when your team is not there. You got to be willing to work hard. And it's the same for everybody. All the people that become successful, it's because if you could picture a herd of sheep inside of a fence, and there's 100 sheep, and one person steps out of that herd of sheep because they want to follow a dream, that entire herd is going to make fun of you because you are alone. You have nobody there to have your back. Yeah. You are standing alone against people who either want to do what you're doing or they don't believe that you can make it. And back to that comment, that post she made, things you practice in private are things you will be praised for in public. Because when you're in private, most of the time when you're in a private place, you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. You may have a few other people there with you, but the few other people that are with you are going through the same struggle you are. Everyone's telling them, oh my God, you should have just done this. You're never going to fucking make that. Nobody fucking makes money doing that. There's no way some little girl from a small town in Clarksville, Tennessee is going to fucking get her shit together and bust her ass and become a professional fighter. There's no way you're going to do that. Guess what? She fucking did it.
Yeah.
There's no way that you're going to fucking,
what that is, man, too, is all of that, like, being able to do it alone and just, like, isolating yourself.
Out.
All of that all of that right there is containment of your ego. Mm-hmm. Because when you do it and you're listening to other people, or you're worried about what other people are going to say or anything like that, you're letting your ego get the best of you. Mm-hmm. Because you're worried about what other people say. You're worried about your image, and you're worried about containing your ego. I think, like, that's something I argue about a lot, and honestly, I know we don't have enough time to talk about ego. Maybe we'll do another episode and we'll talk about ego.
I was going to say, we'll be back tomorrow morning so we can continue this discussion.
But it's containing the ego, and it's really, because and it's that yin and yang. Ego is a very powerful thing. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It can help you and drive you and push you forward, but at the same time, you have to understand how to keep it in check.
Yep.
And if you don't keep
Humble.
it in check, like,
humility.
Because it is humility. Like, it's humility back when, when people tell me about my writing, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to listen to people and to try to get better. Yeah. Because the humility is that somebody out there has a perspective for me that I don't understand. You can't always. So I don't know, but what that is really containment of ego, and I advise everyone to start just looking into and listening to people discuss ego that are great minds, or reading about the ego, because I think ego is an important thing for a lot of writers and a lot of artists, especially in the beginning when they're trying to get started. I think what stops a lot of people from getting started is ego a lot of time, and that's procrastination and not doing the work is one of the things I struggle with the most. It's something I care about a lot.
The powerful part of having an ego is having self-belief. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important to differentiate between ego and what comes from it, because there's
ego's a tool.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that can come, good and bad, that can come from having an ego. You can have an ego and become so absorbed in yourself that you don't listen to some of the criticism that you may need to, or you don't take a failure right. You don't accept the fact that you failed, so you continue doing the same.
Taking accountability and saying,
well, it's almost,
you failed is your fault.
It almost becomes insanity.
Yeah.
And almost, and I agree.
Well, actually, I'm interested. Explain that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you think about it. If you are, like, what I was getting at is, like, if because of your ego you are so absorbed with yourself and the way that you're doing things that you can't accept failure, then you start down this path where you didn't accept failure. So instead of fixing your equation, and let's say we're looking at like a math problem, you're going, this plus this equals this, and you fail. Well, because your ego is so big and you can't accept that failure and change your equation to equal success, doesn't matter how long it takes. You could fuck up 10 times, you could fuck up 100 times, you could fail every fucking day until you get it right. But if you can't accept that you're failing, it's going to continue for failure. You're going to keep failing until the end, and that's insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Okay,
I
see how you're saying it.
Yeah. And I think that if you take from an ego not the failure to it, or the inability to admit failure, and instead go a different route and choose self-belief, I think that is definitely, if you can be responsible and accountable and you can recognize failure and you can continue to have self-belief, you will be unstoppable, because
it's the paradox.
Yeah,
you have to simultaneously believe you're garbage and you are the worst. Like, I'm gonna say writer because I'm a writer. You're the worst writer in the world. Like, you have to constantly be like, well, I wouldn't say that because that's kind of
I was gonna say don't.
But you should constantly believe, like, I am not worth anybody like paying money for.
I'm not perfect.
I'm not at any level right now where I deserve the readers. And at the same time, you have to be like, I'm an amazing writer and I deserve all the success that's ahead of me and that's coming towards me. Like, you have to be able to meld those two things and live them both at the same time. I am both a student and a teacher. I am both a failure and a success.
Yep.
I am both a coward and a warrior. You have to live in paradox the whole time, and that's what that is. Ego is containing your ego is mastering, and mastering your ego is mastering the ability to live in paradox.
Yeah, because there's and even with this, and I've only done, this is our 6th episode, so obviously I probably haven't done enough to speak on how great podcasts can be or anything like that, but I can speak on personal experience. And my personal experience is 100% I agree with everything that you're saying, with everything that we've been talking about, because there has to be a space in your mind, in your life, where maybe not that I don't deserve this, but where you can look at it and go, I'm going to make mistakes. I need not only to critique myself, because I will say this, after every time that we sit down and we do these podcasts, the very next thing I do after we edit and we do everything and it's uploaded and everybody else can see it, I sit down and I watch the entire thing. And there are things that people may see that I may not see, and there may be things that I see that other people don't really care about. Like before, I watched a little bit of yesterday's episode and I noticed that I sat like a fucking vulture in front of the mic, and it bothered me. And I looked at it, and even though posture doesn't fucking matter, when you're compared to what you're speaking about, but it matters to me because I want to be professional.
And I said, nobody's gonna
care. Nobody's gonna care but me. But I want to, every time I get a chance to better myself, I want to take that opportunity to improve. Whether it's posture, whether it's how I speak, whether it's, using proper grammar. Just yesterday we were recording episode 5, and like 3 different times in the episode I kept going, turn left. That's fucking right, you idiot. So first of all, be aware, of what you're talking about while you're on film, because now I can't go back and change that. Now I'm the dumbass who does a podcast who said left. And it's simple things like that. But even if there are people out there that are like, you suck, speaking back on this young lady that has been put down and ridiculed by a lot of people who thought that she was too mouthy or too whatever, I guarantee you, she would probably say the same thing, and I could be wrong, but she would probably say the same thing. There was a part of her that all those people that were negative to her, she was like, fuck you, I believe in myself, I'm going to continue to do it this way, I'm going to continue to bust my ass, I'm going to continue to train and train and train and train. But there's also a part of her that looked at it and said, as far as fighting goes, oh shit, I thought this was better for me to do this, and this person, I just watched them do it a different way, and that looks better. Let me fix let me fix how I'm approaching this takedown.
Right.
Let me fix how
humility.
And there's humility. There is accepting the fact that you are not perfect. It goes to the damn movie Forbidden Kingdom. You ever seen that with Jackie Chan and Jet Li? Okay, there's a scene where he's holding a mug, and Jackie Chan makes tea for the 3 of them that are sitting around the fire. And he's telling him, hey, can you teach me this technique? Can you teach me this technique? Can you teach me this technique? Oh, yeah, I heard about that technique. That's when you do this, this, and this, and this. So Jackie Chan continues to pour this hot tea into his cup to the point where he's holding a cup and it's it's overflowing and it's burning all over his hands. And he's like, if your cup is full, how can you get any more tea?
Yeah.
If you already know everything and you're already perfect.
So they were talking like they already knew everything.
Yeah. Well,
I already
know that technique. Yeah, but can you show me this one, because I already know what that one is. Yeah. And so he continued to pour the tea until it burnt his hand, and he dropped the mug, and he was like, "Hey, what did you do that for?" And he's like, "How are you supposed to learn anything if you already know it all?"
Man, dude, it's always Asian culture that comes up with those really just perfect little anecdotes, and they're just so clever. I love it. Yeah. But and also too, because I know we're about to end it. The last thing I would love for us to like just briefly talk about, because it's like currently my thesis for life.
Please.
Right now in my life, and it's I think it's because like coming from someone who even super recently, and I know I haven't been doing this for a lot of days so far. If you go to my Instagram, you'll see every morning I posted that I wake up at 4:30 a.m. and I post a picture of waking up at 4:30 and like I'm getting to writing,
mm-hmm.
and I do that every day, and it's a pattern for me now, and like. I know that I've only been doing it for like 13 days,
mm-hmm.
but I'm already knowing in my heart that when 100-day mark hits, you're gonna see 100 consistent posts of me waking up at 4:30. It's gonna happen.
Right.
And I'm saying that because it's important, because just recently I was someone who was incredibly lazy, procrastinating, and all of those were stemming from being unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And unhappy was also stemming from being those things, being lazy and procrastinating and not putting forth the work. And it was very cyclical.
Yeah.
And so something that I think is important, it's my thesis for life right now, is that happiness really does come from work.
Mm-hmm.
Happiness is derived from work. It doesn't mean going and working your job at Walmart.
Right.
It doesn't mean a job at Walmart. What it means is work. It means finding something you're passionate about, and maybe you have a job at Walmart and you're working that every day, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that up, and then be proud that you have a job and that you're able to humble yourself, to have that humility to work that job to pay for whatever it is you want to do. But it's work. Every single day work. Going to the gym, instead of like buying crappy fast food, actually putting forth the effort to cook yourself a healthy meal, which is a lot cheaper than a lot of fast food. And spending a certain amount of time every day and just routinely doing whatever it is you want to do, working on your craft. I'm 100% convinced that work is the key to human happiness.
Mm-hmm.
We always hear it's the other way around, and it's not because we work because we want money or anything like that. We work because we want to fill our lives with purpose,
mm-hmm.
and our lives with meaning. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I have zero intentions of ever getting published and making money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna self-publish my book on Amazon when I finish it, and then and if it makes a bunch of money, great. But for me, the day I hit the end on this novel I'm working on, which it'll be in like 2 weeks, I'll hit the end on this novel. The day I hit the end on that novel, I still got some hours left. I'm gonna immediately start writing the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I don't care if I ever make money doing writing. I don't care. To me, it's just the process. I just love the work, and I love writing, and I love completing the writing and doing it. And one of the paradoxes of life for me is like if it in art, if you want to actually make money, you have to not care about money.
Yep.
You have to care about and I don't mean like don't care about money.
Passion of the work.
But yeah, care about the quality of your work. Care about your work. Don't work for money. Work for the work itself.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% convinced, as somebody who is now like, I just feel happier than I've ever been in my entire life, and it's been consistent, and it's amazing. It's work that is the key to happiness. Work. We are human beings, and it is in our DNA. It's in our genetics from the Neanderthals that made it with us.
Don't you find it funny that laws of physics and things in science apply so strictly to our happiness as people?
In what way? Give me an example.
Things in motion stay in motion. A body in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
If you are constantly the type of person that lays in bed, and then you'll get up and you go, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just depressed. I'm depressed all the time. Well, you're depressed because you aren't doing anything.
It feeds on itself too.
Yes, it absolutely. You will feed the monster that you are so afraid of. I don't want to be, and that a lot of people, sometimes that leads to suicide, but a lot of people it just leads to a miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't. The answer is right in front of you. Just like we were talking about, like what makes some people happy. My passion is seeking fucking attention. I like being attention, and I'm good at being a class clown, so I enjoy that. That's what I want to do. That's my fucking talent. And if it's not your talent or you don't think it's a talent, fuck off. I don't care. But You know, but it was right in front of me the whole time. It's just that someone was telling me my whole life that was bad. Mm-hmm. And then I realized as I got older, wait, I can that fits right into fucking talking on a microphone. That fits right into being a radio personality, mm-hmm. you know. But what I'm getting at is when I say a body in motion stays in motion is you know, exactly what I say. If you're laying in bed all the time, or you're going to work and you're coming home and you're going to bed, you're eating and going to bed, you go to work, you come home, you're in this you're just in this little cycle where you're not really doing much. If you are not happy, and I will say this because you spoke on what changed you, I will speak on what changed me. What changed me was when my grandfather passed away, and I struggled with depression my whole life. I struggled with anxiety. I was really faced a lot of abuse as a kid, and I dealt with a lot of shit that children probably shouldn't have to deal with. But when I got older, or as I was growing up, my grandfather would always tell me, a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. And he would always, when I would be down, my grandfather would always walk by me, he'd put his hand on my shoulder, and he would go, idle hands. And he would just walk away. And it wasn't until I got older, I was like, what in the hell are you talking about? Idle hands. You fucking come by me and you grab me and you tell me idle hands. I don't know what the fuck that means. Well, the point he was trying to make to me is that when you're sitting around and you're doing nothing, you have nothing to look forward to. You have nothing to be happy about. You have nothing to be excited about. You have nothing to nothing to hate. You have nothing to put your emotion into. So if you are depressed, and I will say this, and I want you to end on something, but before I stop talking, I will say this. If you are, just because it's another thing that I care about, if you're going through life and you can't find your happiness, you can't find your passion, stop pouting about it, stop talking about it, stop complaining, and get up and be active.
Move.
Fucking move. If you got a job that you don't like, and you're like, you come home and you're exhausted, face your exhaustion, tell it to sit the fuck down and go run. Go find a friend. Go do something.
Physical exertions and exercise is a great way to get yourself happier and moving.
Anything, even if you're not getting outside and you don't like exercise. Some people don't like exercise.
And they need to stop not liking exercise. You need
to exercise. Read. Fucking read something. Write something. Try poetry. Something. Draw something. Go outside. Talk to a friend. Ask your friend, hey, what do you do that you like? And then go give it a shot. Go try it. So, Blade likes skating. I fucking hate skating. Yeah. But when we fucking get together, we're like, what's something that we can agree on? We're like, oh shit, we both like riding bikes. We're going mountain biking. We're getting out of the fucking house. If we're having a rough day, if you are having a rough day, because I feel like I'm on a path to figuring out how to get away from anxiety and depression. But if you're still struggling with it, that's what you need to do. If you let depression take over and pigeonhole you in a position, you are only going to ever feel depression. If you break that hold and you go out and you do something, you will find yourself not only breaking away from depression, but you will find yourself in a place where you can solve your depression.
Yeah, and something important too is it's not easy. I understand that it is the hardest thing to break a habit. It's the hardest thing to get out of depression. It feeds itself. And the reason why is because you're forming habits. Habits. It doesn't matter if it's something positive and something like that takes effort.
Humans
you can form
habitual.
habits. You can form habits by something passive, something that takes no energy, something that does not take effort. Habits are something that are hard to break. And when you develop a negative habit, a habit of laziness or a habit of like being sad, like it takes so much in the world. And I sympathize with you all so much, and I empathize on the many levels so much with how hard it is to break habits. But just keep in your mind that you're dissatisfied. Just keep telling yourself, I'm dissatisfied and I want to change, and eventually you're going to change. Yeah. And it's like but you have to keep progressing. Every day you have to get better. It's Clint Eastwood's father said to him when I don't know, I was watching Inside the Actors Studio and Clint Eastwood was on there, and he said his father said to him that if you're not improving, then you're getting worse. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting better, then you're deteriorating. And that's the truth. There is no. I hate when people say I'm going to the gym just to maintain my body. No, you're not. You don't maintain. Yeah. Once you reach your natty level, which is impossible to do for a lot of people. Like they just don't have the work ethic to do that. But once you reach your natty level, yeah, maybe you're maintaining. But the thing is you never maintain in your life. You're always either getting better or getting worse. It's always one or the other. And because as far as we're aware, there is no limit to your happiness and to your mental health. And I'm telling you, there is no such thing as maintaining. You either get better or you get worse. So that's when you put that thought into your mind, okay, I'm either getting better or I'm getting worse. Mm-hmm. I'm either going to improve or I'm going to deteriorate. Then you need to look at your day and go, well, today am I deteriorating? Yes, I'm getting worse. And then that means tomorrow I'm going to be worse than that. So tomorrow I need to be better so that the day after that I can also be
and,
better.
and don't be afraid to admit, because I have
Don't.
a few friends, I have a few family members that won't admit when they're wrong. If you are, and it doesn't have to be depression, if you're just in a complacent state in life where you're like, I got to figure something out, something has to change because I hate this. You may not be depressed, you may really actually have some happiness in your life where you're like, no, like when I see my family or when I see my kids or when I see my friends, you're genuinely happy. And that's okay, that's great, but it also touches back on the temporary fix. That it may just be temporary, and then when you go to sleep and all those things are gone and you're not distracted, now you're unhappy again. Don't be afraid to admit that you are wrong, because I have had family members and friends that I have talked to, and I have said, hey, try this, go try this, and they're like, no, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. I don't like that. And then you get to the point where after you talk to them for so long, you're like, okay, well, sit and wallow in your depression, because I can't help you. You're going to have to figure it out on your own. You're going to have to get up. You're going to have to move. And until you figure out what you need to do, or how, whatever mindset you need to get in to accomplish that, you're going to have to do it on your own. Because like the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
That's true. I say it a lot.
You can influence somebody and you can give them the tools that they need to help. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to do it yourself. It's going to take you making your body get up out of bed. It's going to take you deciding that you are going to go do something different today, or that you're going to stay active. And he is very correct when he says it is not easy. How many times I have gotten up and I've said, tomorrow morning I'm getting up and I'm going to run. Tomorrow morning I'm going, and I never do it, and I never run. And I thought that this podcast, I was going to have the same mindset where I was going to, we're going to get up again, we're going to do it tomorrow morning. And then I wake up and I'm like, well, I don't really want to get to bed. Almost every morning I still struggle with wanting to stay in bed, but because I know that this makes me happy, I get up here and I fucking do this podcast, because by the end of it, I'm ready to fucking tackle the day. I'm ready to get after it.
And this is a perfect segue too into what I was wanting to reiterate, because you said like if you got somebody in your life that's like addicted to drugs, or they're depressed, and you're trying to help them, you're never going to be able to do it. You can keep offering them a lifeline, keep being there for them. I'm 100% for that. But you're not going to be the one to do anything for them.
Yeah.
They, in their own mind, have to decide to make a change. They have to decide to make the change. So if you are right now struggling, as I was, with depression or laziness and procrastination and just anything negative, if you're struggling with it, you have to decide to make the change. And it's not like you're just going to flip a switch and you're going to listen to this podcast and go, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to do better. You're not. You're going to fail, and it's okay, because it's going to take a long struggle.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. You can only do something for so long before you don't like that, before you make a change. And so my kind of secret, my key for it, what helped me out was I was never satisfied. Every day I said, no, dude, I want to live better. No, I want to do better. No, I just want to write. I want to wake up early. And I said it to myself for years. Wake up early, right. Wake up before the sun, right. Like, I said it years before I finally did it. So the key is to stay, like, I know it sounds counterproductive, paradox. If you want to be happy and you're not happy, the key is to never, ever, ever, like, allow yourself to be content or to be happy in that moment. Don't allow yourself to be satisfied. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't accept your fate. Don't do it, dude. Just, like, every day say, I am not happy. I do not want this. I want to change. Don't break yourself down where you're like gonna think about suicide or something. For the love of
God, do not accept failure.
Yeah, just
accept that failure is going to happen, but
and
do
you're
not
okay with it
accept
because
failure.
it's a lesson. But just every day say, you know what? I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with the life I'm living. I want something better, and just repeat it to yourself every day, and then eventually you're gonna change. And honestly, I mean that's all I got to say for regarding.
I will. Well, then I'll take an opportunity to repeat what I just said. Accept that failure is going to happen. You are going to fail. You're going to fall short. You're going to make mistakes. But do not accept that is the end. That is not the end. There are so many people in life that have failed and failed and failed and failed, but it goes back to self-belief. If you truly believe in yourself, that what you are doing is what makes you happy, what you are doing is what you are good at, and that you are going to be successful no matter what anybody else says, you can accept that failure is going to happen, but you will move past the thought of it being the end of the road. It's not the end of the road. You can always keep cutting, keep chopping, keep hammering away at whatever you're doing until you perfect it. And when you do, don't become complacent. continue to get better and to continue to work on whatever it is your craft is. Keep fucking going, and don't listen to, so cliche, but don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the people that are fucking trying to chop you down, because I guarantee you, when they're alone, they're watching you, they're stalking you, they're looking at the things that you're posting because they wish that they had the fucking guts to do what you are doing.
People hate you when you're
yourself,
trying to make a change and do better.
Be proud of your, absolutely.
And don't hate them for that.
Yeah.
Feel bad for them.
Yeah.
Like, not in a way that you like are trying to feel better than them. Just pity them because you understand it. Because everybody does it.
Or keep fucking working and create an influence for them that maybe they might break away from that same complacency and they'll follow in your footsteps. Do not accept failure. Believe in your fucking self and keep hammering away, keep chopping, keep building, keep growing, and become the person that you want to become. Fucking Joe Rogan, goddammit. Back to this podcast. I don't mean to ride your dick all the time, sir, but be your own fucking superhero. What you want to be in life, what you look up to in life, what you want to see other people be in life, be it yourself. Set the example, be the influence. You know, I could talk all day about this, and honestly, you know what? Just because I'm in a great mood, tomorrow we're going to be back. It's going to be 3 of us, I believe. It's going to be you, me, and Blade.
Hopefully
tomorrow,
so, yeah.
hopefully
I
so.
mean, my schedule might be a little wonky with that.
Well, I tell you what,
because I do go back tomorrow.
Even if Mr. Vinny here isn't with us tomorrow, me and Blade are going to continue this
Regardless
conversation.
of whether or not I'm here, he's going to keep doing it.
I'm going to keep doing it no matter what.
But I'm going to say, too, you know, who the hell are we telling you all this?
Yeah.
I mean, we are regurgitating the words of good men.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I get all
I'm
of my
only in
ideas
practice right now.
Yeah, and so we're just 2 guys that are practicing, that are trying to do it. But I think, if anything, that should inspire you more than somebody who succeeded talking to you. Yep. Because honestly, like me, I feel like I'm in an amazing place and I love what I'm doing. And I want to do it the rest of my life. And I'm just so happy. So that should right there say, oh, okay, well, cool. He's only 2 steps ahead of me, 1 step ahead of me. Like there you go. Like you don't look at the millionaire and say, oh, no, I'm very attainable. You can make this change in 2 weeks.
You are fucking right now. You are witnessing 2 people in the process going through people telling them you cannot fucking do it, you're never going to be successful, you're never going to make money, the podcast is never going to take off.
People don't tell me that, and if they are, I'm not hearing them. So
if you've ever fucking looked at this show and you think I suck and you think I'm not going to make it and you think I'm wasting my time, fuck you. And when I do make it, I'm gonna give you a shout out. I'm gonna look you right in the camera.
If you think I'm not gonna make it with my writing, and you think then I understand, and I really know that you got something in your heart that you want to do, and I really hope you get to do it, because I understand, and I don't hold it against you.
We pity you. No, but in all seriousness, believe in yourself. Don't fucking give up. This was a great conversation. I'm glad that you got to be on here with me this morning.
Man.
Yeah,
I got
absolutely.
just a little bit left. I'm gonna kill it.
Okay. We'll be back in your ear tomorrow morning with some more discussion. It might get a little wild. It might be real. This conversation, I think, today was real, and it might be outrageous. But nevertheless, tune in. Don't miss out on any episodes. Follow me on _out.rageous_ on Instagram. Come check out our page, Real Outrageous
My Instagram,
Podcast.
which is updated every morning with my writing, is York_IV, because my full name is William Vincent York IV. So York_IV on Instagram. Get at me. Follow me on there, and I'll probably follow you back.
Follow us.
I don't care that much about
followers.
Follow us.
Pay attention to us. Watch us as we're on the grind, trying to figure out life.
I want to see you on your grind. Passions. I will unfollow you if you're not on your grind, because I don't need that in my life. I need positivity. I follow people that give me
Another
hype.
Important topic. We'll end on this because we're gonna keep talking.
No, let's just end it. We're gonna
cut the negativity out of your life, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Cut the negativity out of your life, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.